Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Real Estate Matters. For over 11 years, the voice of real estate in Flagler County in Palm Coast, Florida. Welcome to the quiet side of Florida. I'm Toby Tobin, the publisher of GoToby.com. I'm also a contributor to the Palm Coast Observer, and I'm a licensed Florida realtor with the Landmark Group at Compass. Co-host Anna Maria Long was with the Flagler County Home Builders Association. She's in the studio today.
Morning, Toby. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you. You got a little bit of a cold, you said.
Yes, so I'm staying on the other side of the studio. My lovely germy children have finally passed it along.
She's over in the isolation end of the sound booth.
I'm in the isolation booth.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we want to thank our lead sponsor, Veranda Bay, which is a private developing community of lots and luxury homes on the Intercoastal Waterway in Flagler Beach. At least it has a Flagler Beach address. They're working on annexation. And they have luxury homes by Olson Homes, AR Homes by Arthur Ruttenberg, ICI Homes, and Holbert Homes. And then newly into the community, building house lot packages, Toll Brothers and Dreamfinders. So they're all high-end, upscale, custom builders. And again, this community is right on the Intercoastal Waterway, about a mile of intercoastal frontage. Also sponsored by the Home Builders Association, thanks to Anna Maria. And Hammock Community Church on A1A in the Hammock, mile and a half north of the toll bridge. That's where you find me at the 11 o'clock service on Sundays. We can talk about late October numbers. We're recording this on Friday this week, so we're only when you hear the numbers on Saturday, they'll only be one day late. So the numbers are pretty good. Actually, they're encouraging considering all the bad news that people are spreading around. As of today, 164 single-family residential homes have been closed through the sales have been closed through the MLS system of Flagler County. The median price is up to today $362,495. That compares to last year. We had 196 homes sold in the entire month. Remember, we still got a week to go. And the price last year was $359,495. So we're just a couple $1,000 ahead of last year's price. Days on market this year for those 164 homes, 85 days on market.
We may hit that 196 when you consider all the closings that happen at the end of the month.
Well, I think so. Some of it depends, I think, a little bit on the government shutdown. We'll talk to that issue later in the show, hopefully, if we get to it. But I think that the concerns about housing closings slowing down because of the government shutdown are probably overblown. Because I'm not here. I'm sure there's some, for instance...
It depends on the loan type.
Yeah, and if you're required to get flood insurance. And
or if it's an FHA... For example, an FHA loan, then obviously
getting verification through the IRS is for income is another issue too. We'll get to that a little bit later. We track the sales of the 250,000 mark and below that. So far this month, 9 closings in that category, and only 3 were for cash. So for a couple of months in a row now, we've seen the percentage of cash sales in that lower end of the market go down a little bit. Days on market at that segment, though, is 35 days compared to 85. For
got to be quick.
You got to be fast. And in the $1 million and above range, 7 closings, only 3 for cash. And days on market there, interestingly, is 55 days, which is significantly below 85. So that's just
solid month.
It's not normal. Under a normal market condition, the $1 million plus homes have a higher days on market than the rest of the homes sold. There are 1,285 homes listed for sale. That's down significantly from 6 and 9 months ago.
It is.
Homes pending, 314. That's holding pretty steady. The median price of the pending homes, $385,000. And the Index down still at 4.1 where it was last week. The 30-year fixed mortgage, this is news, just came out yesterday. The 30-year fixed rate mortgage has gone down to 6.19%. That's the lowest it's been in more than a year. And I saw several articles where analysts are thinking that it's going to continue to go down. Some are saying it won't go below 6, but most of them expect it to do that, which tends to slow the market a little bit as buyers are reluctant to pull the plug. They might want to wait, see if the market's going to go a little lower.
But if you got to move, you got to move. It doesn't matter what the interest rate's going to be.
No, that's true.
It just depends on if you have that time to spare or not.
And there's certain things like young families want to move time to the school year or things like that are sometimes more important than overriding interest rate concerns.
Yeah.
So we talked the last couple of weeks about the Marineland, the Dolphin Aquarium at the north end of the county being sold at foreclosure auction.
Yeah.
That sale will be finalized one way or the other next Monday at a bankruptcy hearing in Delaware, I think it is.
Oh, really? In Delaware?
So then we'll probably be able to talk more about who it is that bought it. But
hopefully.
The fact that the company name that nobody's ever heard of because it was newly formed has the word developer or development in it. Kind of gives you a hint it's probably not going to stay as a dolphin adventure
Probably not.
park.
But we still have the UF labs there, the Whitney labs, right? So just to be clear, it's not going away completely. You just won't be able to take adventures with dolphins.
Correct. I wonder if they'll still have the food truck up there.
That's a good question.
Have to find out. Why don't you do that and report back next week?
Okay. I'll do my best.
Okay, well, one of the things we mentioned last week that Syntex was involved in Marineland, not the Dolphin Adventure, but the 35-acre other parcel that's not University of Florida. Because there are only really 3 major parcels in Marineland, and maybe 5 people or 9 people, whatever the number is. It's definitely the smallest town, I think, in the country. Incorporated
very unique.
town. It sure is more dolphins than people.
For now.
But I wanted to give a little time to Syntex this week because, as a national home builder, they had a pretty big presence locally in the early part of this century. And they were involved at Marineland. One of their acquisitions was the 35-acre parcel. And they bought that from Jim Jacoby, who's a developer out of Atlanta. And they plan to incorporate it into a very major grand scheme for Palm Coast. And we'll talk about what that scheme included. It included the resort and marina at the main canal, where there was a hotel at one point, Sheridan Hotel.
I remember.
They tore that down, and they had a 3-tower condominium project they planned there. And they built one of the towers. They built the multi-story parking garage, which is big enough for all of the towers. And then the market crashed. And when the market crashed, they also sold the Marineland property back to Jim Jacoby for half the price they had bought it for.
Tough break.
One of their other projects was Tidelands, which is where I lived for 12 years. And I lived in one of the 3-story condominium buildings that they put up. They had 252 condominiums there. That's what Syntex when the market crashed, they stopped building. There's still 134, and their pads, it's pretty much pad ready. But no developers ever stepped up to. It's been under contract multiple times. But another project they had was they bought the Palm Harbor golf course and proceeded to tear down the clubhouse, rip out the irrigation system, and then the market went south.
I'm sensing a theme as they tear things up. The market also gets torn up.
You can say that again. And then they ended up giving the golf course to the city of Palm Coast, who spent $5 million putting the golf course.
And we continue to be in the red on that each year.
Yeah, that's a strong indicator that governments don't do well in
business?
What ought to be private business.
Yes, it puts off people from getting into the private businesses.
And, of course, again, they were going to develop Marineland. That never got started. Another project that they had was called Bulow Shores, and that's off of John Anderson along the Intercoastal Waterway, south of Veranda Bay.
Okay.
So just not too far south of Veranda Bay. And they never really owned it, although they had it under contract, and they were pre-selling lots.
Oh, wow. That's interesting to pre-sell things you don't own.
Yeah, well,
here's a car. I don't own it, but I'm sure it'll be fine.
Those were wild times.
Yeah,
those were very wild times. So anyway, at Bulow Shores, they had it optioned, but they never closed, and then the market went south, and that property was later bought by Ginn, and then ultimately, when the market went further south, they sold it to Seaside Landings, and now it's a very successful
beautiful place.
And with a couple little finger canals off the Intercoastal. And got a couple more, then the market went south. Yes, sure, but we have to take a quick break. Don't go away, folks. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Ken Belshie at Veranda Bay, inviting you to see over 40 new, never-released home sites. Phase 1 sold out in record time, so don't miss your chance on Phase 2. All home sites have planned water access with resort-style amenities. These are big, estate-sized lots. Schedule your private showing now at verandabay.com.
On the water, beyond belief, Veranda Bay.
Well, welcome back to the second half of Real Estate Matters, folks. Thanks for staying with us. We're doing a rundown of the history of Centex in the local market and how during the first 10 years of the century they were boom and then went bust. And
what is interesting, I've noticed that a lot of our now custom builders who've gone on to own their own companies, they worked for Centex during that time. You'll hear it. You'll hear their Centex name come up in conversation quite often still with our industry leaders because that's where they got their start, or their mid-career.
And they're building in places like Seaside Landings that used to be a Centex community. So let's finish up that thread. Centex was involved at the Hammock Beach, Hammock Dunes, or collectively called the Hammock, or the Hammock Dunes CDD.
Yes.
Hammock Dunes, but they. It's interesting that Hammock Dunes, which is right just over the bridge, was developed in the 1990s. That was the first, and that was also a lot of people think of ITT, and they just think of the ITT platted lots, which became the city of Palm Coast. ITT was really involved in a lot of other land deals surrounding them. They bought much more than what became Palm Coast. They bought the entire Hammock area that is the Hammock Dunes CDD. They bought where the surf club is. And there's another, I can't remember the name of the community now that they were involved in out on the hammock. But there's a story about Low Development was going to buy Phase 2 and Phase 3 of that Hammock Dunes CDD area. And I talked to the person that was involved in buying on behalf of Low, and they were supposed to close on Phase 2 and then go to the next room and close on Phase 3. Well, Bobby Gannon had worked for Low, but then left Low. And
I sensed some tea about to spill.
At the end of the closing of Phase 2 to Low, from ITT to Low, he never made it to the next room because he was told they were not going to close on Phase 3, that Bobby Ginn was buying Phase 3. So that's how Ocean Hammock became, and Cinnamon Beach became a Low project, which they sold off the development of Cinnamon Beach to Centex. That's another Centex project. And over at the Phase 3, the resort, I think they're 4-story condos called Hammock Beach Villas.
Yeah.
That was another Centex project. So, and they built Canopy Walk also.
Oh, yes, Canopy Walk.
And their plan
Parkway.
was to basically have, between Beulah Shores and Canopy Walk, Tidelands, Marineland, and then their holdings out in the Hammock, have a multi-node resort community, and they were advertising that they would have boat taxis up and down the intercoastal to take you from one to
That
the
is
other.
the concept. That is the concept.
Yeah, they actually were involved a little bit in Grand Haven, which is where I moved when I first came to Palm Coast, and they had purchased one of the phases of Grand Haven called Player's Edge, and that's where I built my first house.
Oh.
Yeah, I bought the lot from Centex. At that time, they were already deciding not to require that I use them as a builder, so I was able to find another builder. But there's lots of interesting stories.
That's the lore behind the build.
Well, it just shows that everybody thinks the developer lining their pockets, and
the truth is they've lost a whole lot of money at some point.
And lining the pockets of politicians. And, in some cities that we know that does happen.
Yeah,
it does. And when it does, it makes the news. When it's not in the news, it's probably not happening. And Centex ended up being absorbed into Pulte.
Really?
So the Centex brand, if it exists anywhere anymore, is under a Pulte umbrella.
And they're
the people that are coming back into town to build the Del Webb community on State Road 100.
And
so
are they the first or second largest builder in the country, if I'm not mistaken?
Could be. I'm sure they're in the top 5. They're really substantially large, but they have the Centex brand they absorbed, and they also have the Del Webb, which is primarily age restricted, active. They call them active retirement communities. I think active means 55 up to 65.
You can still be active after 65.
It doesn't include 82, I can tell you that. So the government's shut down. It's been shut down for 2 or 3 weeks now.
It has,
and there's some great concern over how that's now it's starting to affect some government workers who aren't getting paid. And that's going to filter through the economy, but we just had a Home Builders Association meeting last night, which is why we're recording today instead of on the usual Thursday afternoon. And did you hear any talk among the builders about any any I guess dislocations or
not specifically here in Flagler, but we did hear it at the state level what was that, a week ago? I don't even know I have no idea what day it is anymore. And just across the state, the major implications that everyone's seeing are flood insurance being one of the top ones, is that you can't get flood insurance. Obviously the FHA loans are essentially unavailable, and you can't get a permit from the Army Corps of Engineers. And the Army Corps of Engineers are...
Well, you almost never could.
I know. It's like... I mean, right. They were slow as anything.
Shut down. They're always shut down.
It was kind of... If it was a joke before, it's a whole comedy show now. Or a circus, I guess. And you rely on the government to verify, to do e-verify, and to the IRS response for...
income verification.
Income verification for mortgages, which are very strict in lending practice now, as they should be. So I think we're going to start seeing a little bit more. It depends how long it goes, right? Because the new mortgage applicants are not going to necessarily be able to apply for the loans, but people who are already approved or pre-approved can likely move forward, but not close. Leads to another.
I just found this item this morning. The typical home buyer's FICO credit score is 735, or was during the third quarter, and according to Realtor.com, that's roughly 20 points higher than it was, or than the national average. So if you take the FICO score of the national average, it would be 715, and so at 735, that's 20 points higher than the national average. That's just a little tidbit I found. A growing share of young adults are moving back home. I think we've already kind of heard
because
that.
they can't afford a house.
And instead of striking out on their own, it said nearly 1.5 million more adults under age 35 live with their parents compared to 10 years ago, and which it's a 6.3% increase, and that's more than double the growth rate of that age group. So it's not just an inflation-adjusted number.
We probably shouldn't put all the blame on the people under 35, because the parents also need the financial support sometimes as well. If a spouse passes away and now they're the sole income, they may actually need someone to help to be able to stay in their home.
If you're lucky enough to have kids that will actually pay.
This is also true. Yes, this is also true.
When it comes to family, there are a lot of financial dynamics. My dad had a saying that it is far better to give than to lend, because the result is often the same.
Yes, don't give, or don't lend unless you're okay with not getting it back.
And home ownership costs have jumped 26% over 5 years as hidden expenses rise. Typically, monthly expenses for homeowners surged by more than a quarter in 5 years through 2024. Let me read this. Comprehensive new report from the Census Bureau says the median monthly ownership cost for U.S. homeowners with a mortgage jumped to $2,035 last year. Again, according to the Census Bureau. I like to find these little nuggets.
Yeah, and that was up 7% from a year earlier in nominal dollars, and a 26% increase from 2019, when the typical monthly cost for mortgage holders was just $1,609. That's massive, especially if you look at what you were earning then and what you're earning now.
Well, my first house
doesn't match.
It was a duplex up and down. It was an old farm tenant house. It was old when I bought it, and I rented it to a school teacher the other side, and his $100 a month rent covered my mortgage, taxes, and insurance.
Oh my goodness, that's beautiful.
Oh, we're running out of time.
Yeah,
Mark is waving at us.
Well, I'll remind everyone, our video podcasts of Real Estate Matters are now available on gotoby.com. Just click on podcasts on the top navigation bar. And if you have a question or a suggestion for Real Estate Matters or GoToby.com,
call me, 369-317-124. Email me at toby@gotoby.com. And also visit gotoby.com because the new interactive map of all communities, all subdivisions, all developments, old and new and planning, and it's still in the planning stage, over 160 pins on that map, and it's available on gotoby.com. You'll see it right on the home page. Click on the graphic, and that'll take you to the live map. And then bookmark that map, too, and share it with your friends. Thanks for being with us. I'm Toby Tobin, and I approve this show.